Okay, so hopefully you can hear and see me okay. So welcome, to the seventh Molecules Unlimited meeting with the botany theme. Thrilled to have you with us. Lovely to see some familiar faces and some new ones. We explore the intersect between the chemical sciences and poetry. And our guest reader tonight is the wonderful Lisa Kiew. I'd like to introduce you, if that's okay, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us. So Lisa looks like she's very, very busy, as well as being a very accomplished poet with work placed in places like Butcher's Dog, Magma, the Rialto, the North, the Dark Horse, Ink, Sweat and Tears. She's published a pamphlet and a book. She's has an MSc in creative writing and literary studies from Edinburgh University. Her pamphlet, The Unquiet, was published by Offord Road Books, I think 5 years ago. I recommend that. And her debut collection, More Than Weeds, was published last February with Nine Arches Press. And her Candlestick Press commission poem was published in Christmas Spirit, 10 Poems to Warm the Heart. And that actually was included on Radio 3, Christmas Day broadcast in 2023. So over to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for that really kind introduction. I'm thrilled to be with Molecules Unlimited tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm going to read poems from More Than Weeds. And it's a collection that speaks to themes of plants, people, place. It speaks to themes of love, migration, and belonging. I'm a poet of the city, and this poem is called Scythianism. A woman walks into a city. There's a forest of tall lights, concrete, high rise, cast shadows, flecks the horizon. A woman walks into a city. There's a field of tarmac, cars careen, windblown, lights. Street and lamp are intimate. We could talk of crowds, not of lawn, of congestion, or of overgrown grass. A woman walks into a city. There's an allotment of people, uprooted, torn weeds, split seeds, roadside tatters. Far from windows, a woman walks into a city. There's one tree, shattered, blossom, nubs of new. She falls to her knees. Witness how they bear the weight. Every branch is a script, a bone grip on the earth. Leaves spell the distances, slivers of hearts. So in a number of my poems, I give voice to plants, and I was really struck I've been struck for many years now about how we use a language of migration and how we use a language for both people and plants, for animal species, and about how they belong and they don't. So the plant in my next poem, I'm sure many of you will know it. It's an extremely popular perennial from the Southwest and Central Alps. It's widely introduced into gardens, and it often escapes. Corydalis lutea. She tries to breathe, balance, blooms like crested larks. She's fled across walls to be free as bluebells or narcissus. Fumitory disguises her yellow. By midsummer, she's fern-like. Her leaves are bleeding, parts, ground cover for shade. On poor soil, she and her sisters set roots and rhizomes. To remain cheerful, she believes, persistence rewards a place. When she has a wasp in her mouth, she asks, can weed be just another name the rain calls down for refugee, unforced flower? So I'm going to read a poem for another plant that you will probably all know very well. I wrote this because I was thinking very much about how names are given in botany, how they overtake the names that the people in the local places have given the plants. And I also thought, well, how would the plants name themselves? Budleia Davidii. What is my own name? Not that one, the French Basques missionaries, and me from Sichuan, uprooted. Me, collected, catalogued, cultivated in foreign soil. What is my name? Commonly escaped from gardens, listed invasive, labeled noxious weed. What is my own name? Windsown, making a home in, dry open ground, cracks and bricks by roadsides, building sites, and in the aftermath of war, on bomb sites, broken railway lines. What is my own name? Grows into thicket, butterfly bush, summer lilac, bees shrub, vigorous I own, and am arching. I name myself. Perfect. So you might gather that I don't really think our natural and green spaces are neutral places. I don't think gardens are safe spaces. The plant in my next poem is reputed to have been introduced to Britain in 1816 by John Reeves. For those of you who don't know, John Reeves was the chief inspector of tea at Canton. So think about the trade connections between tea and opium. Think about other triangular trades across seas. Wisteria. Mr. Reeves said, the vigor of the plant makes her adaptable, makes her trainable to many forms. He said, bind her tight and break. Side shoots back to basil. Mr. Reeves didn't say. He transported her seedlings, a stealing, a separating, soil, forked, shoveled, raked. The sound of it, anything but. Her soft stem around any available support. said maturation forced by physically abusing the main trunk? Mr. Reeves said root pruning brings an abundance of purple. I count each cutting. So the plant in my next poem comes from the Afro tropical savannas and grasslands. I was really inspired when I first heard about it. It's a plant that has adapted very much to extreme climatic events. It grows with its canopy underground as a response to wildfire. GeoXL. Words spark the silence, yet nothing's been said about the sun's smother, its hardening thread. Of savanna, tall grasses. How to search for forest is to walk its canopy. The red wings catch, now flames, deafening, earth blackening, breaks. Trees avoid damage in the dark. What happens is what happens. Names learnt. Sand apple, plough breaker. This poem feels more than usually poignant for me today in events in the world. Then it quotes from the policy paper, National Security and Borders Bill, Deprivation of Citizenship fact sheet, which was published in December 2021. Only in the interests of national security. The Home Secretary decides each case personally. Moon turns the way. Cucumbers are shivering. Who likes the trellis and the stake? The gardener prunes and harrows, leaves bone whitened, first fellings, thin trailings. Though we will always try to tell an individual that their citizenship is to be deprived, how fast fronds fall to soil. It might not be possible in exceptional circumstances. The fog leans in, dripping insinuations, even though we've been here before and for a long time. We're only hedge clippings. Because we cannot immediately tell a person that they are to be deprived of British citizenship, fog is one wet slap after another. To the fallen, leaves returned. It does not make the decision any less valid or prevent the deprivation order being made. Dandelions in dirt, plastic zip ties, twine. Processes and safeguards are already in place. On winds moan, a slam, shut, sound, maybe left, human. We would explain their appeal rights when they make contact with us. how the ground lies. Lilies pretend to know nothing of it. The gardener grows. More shadows grows. More silence. How are we to bear? Branches left for crows. So I'm going to finish with perhaps, I hope, a slightly more upbeat poem. That this poem was inspired by a visit to the Garde Museum in Lambeth, in London. If you don't know it, I'd heartily recommend it. It's a really interesting museum. What I learnt there was that in the period just after the Second World War, there was a boom in amateur botany clubs. And I wrote this poem after I discovered that. The Conservator, the bomb, and what happened after. Charlock and clover grew after. Among the rubble, she picked after glister. Bellis perennis persisted after. War opened spaces. Lucerne came after, and fireweed flamed unbroken. Wild flowers were hopes after. She compressed those after and between flimsy sheets. After the blast, she pressed leaves after leaves, petals into an ever after of absorbent blotters. She lived to preserve. She was feeling after something. Nothing was white after. She'd stored specimens after drying. Foliage labelled after a taxonomy of loss. And after that, she placed seeds into packets. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for that wonderful reading. Yeah, please do look at the comments in the chat when you get time. Wonderful. Wow. Yeah, let's continue the meeting then after that fantastic start with our supporting readers. And we can kick off with Dave Garbutt. Over to you, Dave.
Unmute. Okay. Can you everyone hear me? This is a poem about a plant, but of course not really. That's not really what it's about. I have invented a couple of things, but the plant is real. And I wrote this after reading an article in The Guardian, an interview with Ariel Sharon in 2001, 7th of November, actually. And I just, well, the whole thing for me was a revelation about the kind of attitudes that generals have and so on. So I'll post a link to the interview. It's still available. It was an absolutely brilliant piece written by Emma Brox. And so this is also, I suppose, about how we exploit plants. After all, they provide lots of pharmaceuticals. In a sense, our brains are affected by their secondary metabolism. Our physiology could be affected by them. There's only so many molecules, things get shared. And of course, in plants, those things do totally different things from how they affect us. And we like to maybe blame external agents a lot for how things go down. So this is called Rock Garden. Here is the rock garden. In a desert like the Negev, what isn't? No matter. Here we have our favorite flowers. Invasive? True. But burly, with a stem most rigid, most strong, the military orchid. Scented? No. Hard to see? Of course. Not purple like its European brother. Sandy green and khaki. Very khaki. Flavor? It tastes of bile, of lost medieval towns, of bread ripped up and thrown into ovens. Oh, quite safe. It never explodes while shopping. I love my flowers. It's how I relax. I extract the essences like Dr. Bach. No, funnily enough, he didn't use this orchid for one of his 38 states. It's not negative. I'd say, what's negative about getting your way? Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. And now Emma Storr.
Hi, can you all hear me? I'm based in Leeds. I'm a poet and a retired GP. And my poem was inspired by sitting in my lounge trying to write something and hearing this very odd noise, which was like a crack or a tick. And it took me ages to work out that it was coming from my prayer plant, so which was unfurling a leaf. And I never managed to catch it so I could actually see it unfurl the leaf, but that's what was happening, was it making this extraordinary noise. So this is my poem, Prayer Plant, Maranta leuconeura. I hear it creak, a low-pitched scratch. Its ovate, perfect leaves overlap, encircle the newest stem, reefed tight, vertical. I want to catch it mid-creation, unfolding. It nods in the draft to the china cat, the wooden snake, all are silent. I look away, pick up my pen to write. A crack rustles the air. My plant unfurls a perfect folio. I stare at my words crawling across the lined page, unformed, obstinate. This poem won't grow and flourish. I let it wither, die. Thank you.
Marvellous. Thank you, Emma. And now Fiona Perry.
Ooh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Thanks for organising, Stephen. It's lovely to be here. I've very much enjoyed the poetry so far. So this poem was inspired by Les Murray's collection, Translations from the Natural World. And in that collection, animals speak for themselves. So in my poem, I have a tree speaking for themselves. Autumn tree soliloquy. The quail surges, spindly pull and push of crumpled breathers falling into soil litter, carbon dioxide to sugar, chlorophyll violet blue to carotenoid blue-green, discombobulating at first, but as phantom weight finally dissipates, I shear away as I shore up, the singing of my tree trunks reduced to humming.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fiona. That was wonderful. It's lovely to see all the chemical terms that are being used at places in the poems. Thank you. Okay, before we have a short break, I'll read one if that's okay, and then we've got many more readers after the break. So I'm going to read a poem from this book, A Hatchery of Shadows. Maybe you can't see it too well, but it was written a few years ago for SciPo. And it really, I was interested in the kind of music of biosynthesis. It's called Intent on Purple. Behold, beautiful cyanidin, bluish red or reddish blue, a pigment bursting with pride in berries and leaves of perilla. Marvel as atomic dances jolt production conveyor belts, while cellular rivers gush, serving up phenylalanine swirls. Sets of staple compounds stir and pour from a parallel river. Malonyl coenzyme A floods all the microtributaries. Their compounds meet intent on purple, an enzyme-controlled magic, catalyzes with creases while chalcones grow in aqua vessels. Their carbon spines form proto-scaffolds, and witness the switch in bearing when an isomerase works. Naringenin is the blank result. Colorless molecules then color. Magenta soaks the water by successive redox steps, and dihydrocampherol forms with ease. There's flavanone 3-hydroxylase, seemingly aimed at tinting. Chemical dehydration finally gift wraps cyanidin. Okay, thank you. So we'll, if it's okay, we'll just have maybe just a 10-minute pause, and we'll come back at 7:40. You can use the same link. All right, see you then.